all but Nami's family. Great supportive community, close-knit caring family. We're non-judgy, blanket fuzzy, stigma-free. All but Nami's family, friends, family, and community. We all but Nami's family. Teacher sharing is our key. Great big thanks to you all.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Stigma Stompers, a podcast, the only podcast with Nami of Erie County, Pennsylvania. I am one of your hosts, Abby.
And I'm your other host, Janana.
Today, we have another special guest with us today. We're going to be going over her personal story, what she does, who she is, but I'm going to get right to it and let her do all the talking.
Wow. Okay. Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
I feel like part famous all of a sudden just because there's a microphone in front of my face. But thank you for having me. My name is Amanda, and I actually am here today because I work for a company called Charlie Health, and I'm excited to kind of share with you guys my personal story. I feel like everyone we know is always some type of experience of mental health and or a family member. And yeah, I'm just pumped to kind of share a little bit about me, and then we can segue from there.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Also, to your point, I'm glad you bring that up. I feel like a lot of times people don't really realize that they themselves or their family members might be struggling with mental health challenges. And I feel like you said, everyone kind of struggles with something depending on what level you're going through. It could just be general anxiety that you have or stress, whatever it may be. But I like that you brought that point up because I feel like people tend to forget that, you know, it's very common and most people in our lives are struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. It's like that unfortunate thing that we are living in today, even though it was always there. It's just we're more in tune, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. So we'll start off with your personal story. If you wanted to start off with that.
Okay, great. Yeah. So kind of a quick little background. So I grew up in the North Hills area right outside of Pittsburgh. And I guess at the age of 15, I was told something that not a lot of people typically are told. And I was told by numerous doctors, unfortunately, that I would be lucky to ever walk again someday. And at that point of my life, I was a gymnast for about 8 or so years. So my body and movement and just, you know, being able to express myself through gymnastics was my life, and it was everything to me. Mm-hmm. And what kind of happened was, I know like on your previous podcast, you guys kind of spoke a little bit about, you know, mental health and how it's separate from physical health. And I really am a believer that it's in fact one whole thing of just health, right? And I think that at the age of 15, unfortunately, trauma had caught up to my body, and it was its way of like signaling I needed to slow down, and I was doing too much and kind of not focusing on my mental health needs at that point. So essentially what kind of happened here was years of struggle of post, you know, trauma. The doctors diagnosed me with something called reflex neurovascular dystrophy. At this point of time, I was not able to walk. It was an odd situation of my brain was essentially signaling my body different things. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't quite signaling what it needed to kind of operate properly. So it's a very rare disease, and it's something that they have to retrain your brain essentially to relearn how to walk and how to do everything in terms of physically. So at age 15, as you can imagine, I at this point was on crutches for probably 2.5 years. And thank God for my mom. She is just a true hero. Like no hero, all heroes don't wear capes, and that's my mom. Yeah. And she just made sure that she took me to every doctor she possibly could find. And tons of people just didn't quite understand what I was going through. And a lot of folks kind of thought that it was in my head, because if you looked at me, there wasn't anything physically looking wrong or incorrect. Like, there wasn't like a broken bone on x-rays. There wasn't something that was signaling, dysfunction. But I knew that I just didn't feel right, and half of my body essentially was just not working as it should. So at that point of time, again, being that I lived in Pittsburgh, where we were really fortunate that the Children's Institute is a local place down in Pittsburgh. And at that time, they were operating as a hospital, and they did have like the ability to treat people for long-term types of care. So I was put on a wait list. Took a couple weeks, I probably would say 3 or 4 months probably to get in there. And at this point of time, I'm coming to terms with all of the things of my body. It may be not ever going to be able to do gymnastics again, and just this large fear of what is next for me. It really created a large amount of anxiety, as you can imagine. I didn't want to leave my house. I rarely went to school. I think I maybe went to school 3 days a week, and I would go late and I would leave early. It was just this large compound effect of like, your body is physically going through something because of something you mentally went through, and now it's just trickling. So I guess eventually over time I was able to luckily get the care I needed physically from being an inpatient at the Children's Institute. And they did have back then music therapists and somebody that was obviously checking in on me mentally. And I'm so grateful for that, because it was at that point of time, I'm 32. So when I was 15, mental health wasn't necessarily out in the forefront like it is today. And I just didn't realize how I was feeling until I was put in a place that someone was asking me these questions. And so, again, I'm so blessed that I had what I had and the privilege to go where I was able to go. And after that kind of service of physically being healthy, I was then just told, to go see a mental health therapist once a week, and you'll be okay. Like, that's all you need, blah, 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 all the things. And sure, it was the right step at the time to go see someone once a week. But telling a 15 or 16-year-old to go talk to an adult about a chronic, crazy disease that you just went through, how am I supposed to relate to this therapist? Is just so wild. So it honestly just didn't work for me. It was one of those things that I tried for a couple sessions, and I would just sob to my mom after sessions like, this isn't for me. This isn't working. I don't feel better. I feel worse. And unfortunately, I stopped going. So at that time, I just kind of, again, put my mental health on the back burner. I did graduate from high school, which was incredible if you ask anyone of my friends and or my family members. I did graduate from high school, and I actually ended up going to Penn State Behrend for 2 years at that time. And that was where all of the other additional things that were on the back burner really came up front for me. And my family started to notice. I turned to substance misuse. I, again, suffered from severe panic attacks, and it was one of those things that I thought I could conquer myself, and I couldn't. And my friends eventually told me, like, hey, you need way more than what you have right now. So I got the help that I needed. I took some time off of school. I was a full-time student, and, again, so lucky that I was able to do those things. But yeah, my journey was just not linear and had lots of bumps in the road and setbacks. And I just, it's interesting where I landed today, because when I initially thought what I was going to be getting into it for my life, it wasn't going to be mental health. And now it's just I'm privileged to be able to kind of be an advocate for those in the community that need resources, but they don't know what type of resource they need, because I was there too, and I can kind of share my story and give strength through what they're going through in that way too.
Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. That's, it's tough. Going back to the beginning, as a 15-year-old, that's not something easy for you, or I'm sure your mom, to hear at the time. What were you feeling when you found this out? What do you know how your mom was feeling? What you guys were going through together? I mean, that's such a big thing.
Yeah, I think my mom did a really great job of being like my warrior, my like fighter for me, because I really didn't at that point of time have like a voice or understand what was going on, other than that I was being told this is what's happening to your body and we don't have like a solution. And she just wouldn't take no for an answer from doctors, and she was the one that like made sure I was getting connected somewhere. But yeah, she was like my fighter. And for me, I think I just did a really good job of ignoring how I was feeling at the time. And like I said, it caught up to me big time.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're still a child at that point. 15 is so young to be told such large news, but we're glad you're doing better and things work out. So going from there, did you start seeking therapy again afterwards, or what was your course to start getting those mental health treatments to help you feel better? Yeah,
definitely virtual therapy was the thing that worked for me, and that was because as a college student, you're not going to catch me driving somewhere, to be completely honest, to go, and that's just time-saving purposes. So virtual was what worked for me, and at that point of time, I was able to relate on a different level than, say, like a 15-year-old. So, again, it was just over time and doing what I needed for myself was what was necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I like what you said when you were talking about your story of how the disease you were diagnosed with, you couldn't see it on like an x-ray and anything. I think that's really important and ties directly to mental health. Like you can't see your mental health on an x-ray, and for most people they can't see into your brain until you pass. Like that's when a lot of correlations with like your brain makeup and things like bipolar or schizophrenia, that's when they can see those after you pass, and they can look into it. So you can't see things like mental health on an x-ray or like a PET scan or things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring that up too.
Yeah, but it's so, in today's lens, I think as humans, our nature is sometimes we jump to judge. And so much of the time, why are we doing that? Like, for what? So it's just ask the questions, be curious and those types of things.
I feel like the huge problem is a lot of people, too many, are like, they have to see it to believe it. And so if they can't see it, especially for those that struggle in silence and struggle alone, like Robin Williams is the most famous one. He was so outwardly, his personality was just outgoing, but he was struggling. So if they couldn't see he was struggling, they wouldn't have believed it.
Right.
And then it was too late.
No, I agree. Do you think that, if you would have had the proper resources at an earlier age, because something that we try to do is educate the population. We're trying to get into schools to educate students kind of on the signs and symptoms, what to look out for. If you see a peer struggling, what you can do to help them out and things like that. Do you think if you had the proper resources at an earlier age and understood maybe mental health a little bit better? Because I know for me at 15, I did not know what mental health
no one
was.
talked about it.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you think that would have made a difference in your journey and knowing what's out there and how to get the proper help?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of my mental health trajectory could have looked completely different if I was set up, as a younger teen. I probably wouldn't have struggled as a younger 20s in college. And I think, too, in college, your sole focus is schoolwork. that you get so carried away in what you're supposed to be doing, and you kind of stick to what you think you should be doing. And like going and turning to a school counselor just wasn't something that people really talked about so much, and I wish that people did. And yeah, I think it just would have been completely different story long term if resources were more out in the open, especially being a teenager in a public school in Pittsburgh. Like, I didn't really have much other than being told, oh, she's not doing well.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely tough because I know, out of personal experience, the younger you know about it, the better it is. Even for a 5-year-old. I mean, I can't remember what statistic it was, but I think it can start at the age of like 5. Mental health challenges, there's no, it can start as early as a 5-year-old. And so I think that, the earlier you understand those big feelings, I know we've talked about before, sometimes kids tend to, we quote, misbehave when it's actually they're having all these feelings and they don't know how to deal with them. So it can be as simple as, just helping them understand what they're feeling and what those feelings are. I know we do a movie night in the park where we talk about, those emotions and put together a packet for the kids to interact with. We're just trying to make sure that people understand, it doesn't have to be like this huge mental health challenge that someone's going through. It can just be understanding the emotions that you're having. But I definitely think that we need to get out there more into schools and the younger populations.
I feel like people think that the symptoms of mental health are so different from kids to adults. So like a kid experiencing anxiety, they might not be able to say that they're having anxiety, but they might be like really angry and hitting things. And like one of my symptoms of anxiety is anger, and I'm 25, I'm not a child. So like it's the same thing, they just can't verbalize it. They don't have the words for it. So if we teach them anger can be anxiety or anger can be depression, depending on your kind of depression, then they'll be able to talk about it more.
Right.
And that's what we try to do in some of the programs that I would like to talk about right now. Because I'm going to plug them. We do Exploring the Arts. I don't know if you've heard of Exploring the Arts, but it's a program for kids. I think the ages are 4 to like 11. And we teach them emotional regulation through art. But art is not just like painting and coloring. We do like yoga. We've done dancing, singing, all kinds of things. And we start with a book. And we read the book, and it normally ties to some kind of emotion. So I think the one is the feelings monster, and each color is like to a different monster. So we teach them like the words like angry, mad, sad, whatever. The symptoms associated with them in the book are based on how the character is dealing with it, and then how to handle them. So yeah, that's one of our cool programs. And we're trying to get it into more places. We've done like after school programs, daycares. Yeah, we're in schools now. We're getting into elementary schools. So we're trying to get it out there.
That's huge. Yeah. And I love that.
It's really fun, too.
The kids absolutely love it.
They don't even know they're learning anything. And then the next time they, like, do the coping skill that you taught them, and you're like, oh, you were listening.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to see how much they enjoy what we do, because we try to make it fun. They're kids. They're not going to sit there and want to do a packet, that's boring. But we keep it interactive where they're still learning. So, yeah. All right. Going back to you, Amanda. Sorry, we go on tangents sometimes.
Got to plug the NAMI program where I can.
Yeah, understandably.
So, how did you, if you don't mind talking about Charlie Health, what you guys do and how you got to doing the job that you do?
Yeah. So I'll speak just to Charlie Health, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So Charlie, we are an all virtual platform. Like I mentioned, that was really the key for myself throughout my journey, was being accessible. And we offer something that's referred to as an intensive outpatient program. So again, it's not like your traditional once a week level of care. We're for someone who needs a little extra. and or they could benefit from being surrounded by similar peers in that type of mental health group environment. So like similar to what you all do at NAMI, you offer, group support. That's what we do. However, it's more intensive. So it's about 9 hours a week of group therapy. And then we also offer psychiatry or med management. Along with that, family therapy is a huge component of us too. And then individual, which is once a week. So, when all said and done, Charlie Health is essentially a step down from like an inpatient stay or like a moment of high crisis. We're a great place for people to turn to for those situations, and or if someone's been in therapy and they're just not progressing as they wish they were. So like for myself, I was doing the work and trying to understand where I was, but what I was missing was like that peer connection of someone else going through something just like I was and being able to share like me too. So yeah, that's a quick snippet on Charlie. And I think what makes us really unique is how we curate that group environment. How I shared, we partner or pair people based on peers that are most like them. We do that across the entire United States. So we're in 38 states right now, and we pair individuals in their group setting based on their age, their primary condition, their background or personal experience, and what type of modalities they're going to need for healing and sustainable like treatment. So we're not like a cookie cutter type of here's what you get because you're so-and-so age. We're more so individualized and specialized, and we really focus on the person as a whole and create like a individual treatment plan.
I like that because I feel like every person is different. For some people, I mean, as you said, at 15, therapy really wasn't what helped you. But for someone else, maybe that's what helps them. Every person is very different. So I love that aspect of it.
I feel like the almost cookie cutter, what's the word? Like treatment plan is what makes people not want to get treatment because they're like, this isn't working. It's going to be that way with everyone. So I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
But there's so many other things that you could try that could work for you.
Yeah, exactly. Like options. People just need options. And sometimes it becomes so overwhelming when you're trying to find what's going to work for you. But hopefully, like with folks like yourself navigating and sharing the resources, people can then understand that they can try something different or, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and that's what we're here to do. I mean, we know it can be overwhelming. There's so many resources out there that sometimes it's like, okay, where do I go? So that's what we, when we get those calls or emails, someone explains what they're going through. They're like, I don't know what to do. So we give them a few options depending on what their needs are. So yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all that information. We really appreciate it. You were one of our sponsors with Charlie Health and joined us for NAMI walks. We really appreciate your support. If you wanted to talk about what made you guys want to sponsor us and join us on that day, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd love to. So to bring light to why I wanted to, lend a hand to you all as you're doing the nitty-gritty hard lifting in Erie. I feel like you guys connect everybody that you can to any resource that's out there that you know about. And that was the first walk. So I was really just honestly jazzed to be a part of it. So yeah, thank you for, having me be present and sharing Charlie Health with others in the community in that way. And it did feel like one, kind of mental health party that day. There was a DJ. It was super fun. They had like a photo booth. And there was just nice atmosphere to kind of get out with the community. But yeah, I think, again, what you all do is so important and valuable, and people just need to learn that it's okay to ask for help, and you guys are the right people to send them in the direction that they need. So Yeah.
Thank you. We
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll join us this year.
September
Abby?
14th.
Yeah, we have it set already.
Amazing.
There'll be all of that plus more. We're looking into potentially bounce houses.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We're really, what we're trying to do is have everyone join us, and no matter what age or medical conditions, because we chose a path that, Abby, I know you were more in the event planning process, but it was more of a path that is friendly for, wheelchair. It's just all accessible.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about that a little bit.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
The whole path was accessible to strollers, wheelchairs, dogs, no matter how old you are. And it was relatively flat, so.
Yeah, we try to make sure that, there isn't a barrier or even a cost, anything, just to come and show the support, which we were really happy about. For it being our first year, we were beyond grateful for everyone that came out and supported us. So that's why next year we definitely want to step it up a little bit and bring new things to it. So hopefully every year we'll evolve and do more things depending on how much, of course, we can do, because we are a nonprofit, but we are excited about this year, I think.
And there were plenty of dogs. I love the dogs.
Yes. Oh, my
People
goodness.
can bring their dogs.
Yes, exactly.
Hard plug. Bring the dogs.
Exactly.
There might be like a little dog station this year.
No.
Yeah.
So fun.
To really get people to bring their dogs.
Yeah.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm
Great.
excited about it. So what we plan on doing is hopefully getting more people to share their stories like you, which we so appreciate, because I know there's still that stigma around the mental health component, and that's why we're called the Stigma Stompers. We're trying to defeat that stigma and have people share what they're going through. So we're trying to get different genres, but that's probably not the best word, but different
Flavors.
People.
Yeah, different people, flavors, of individuals, just so that way anyone can connect and see, there are people out there who are struggling. It's okay to ask for that help. And I think something that people don't really know is everything is confidential. And like you said, there's that virtual component. If you're still afraid of what are people going to say, am I going to get judged, you can also look online and do virtual appointments if you think that's the right fit for you.
Right.
We just really want people to understand, that it's okay to ask for that help. So yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is one thing or like one piece of advice that you would give to someone who has no idea where to start with their mental health journey, I guess?
I feel like something that I really enjoyed whenever I was finding like my way on my journey was journaling and moments of gratitude. Huge. And I every day I write down in a journal 3 things I'm grateful for before I go to bed. It's a huge practice of mine. Obviously it doesn't happen every night, but I try at least 4 or 5 days of the week. So I would just like take note of yourself and kind of have a moment of reflection. And again, that huge piece of not being afraid to ask for help and leaning on loved ones or someone that you can trust to direct you is key.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I feel like gratitude is so overlooked as like a coping mechanism. Like, and you don't have to have everything in the whole world to be grateful for things. Like, if you woke up today, that's more than enough to be grateful for.
Yeah. I'm grateful for my Starbucks cafe latte like this morning.
Exactly.
Boom.
Yep.
Love it.
Exactly.
It could be, I am thankful I have a roof over my head, a bed to sleep in,
Exactly.
and a car that gets me to work. Boom.
Yeah.
3 things.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know sometimes, from some of the groups we've done, when you're in like a slump and you're feeling really down, it's hard to think of those things you're grateful for. But having that list already made and looking back on it, or having, write down positive things about yourself in that moment, it's hard to do that. But then when you look back on the better days that you had, what you wrote, it helps you feel better. And you're like, oh, it'll be okay.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
take full advantage of the days that you are doing good.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can prep for the bad.
That is
Yes,
true.
exactly.
Bouncing kind of a little bit around. We do that sometimes. You said you struggled with substance misuse. If you don't mind talking about that a little bit, because I know we did a whole month on sobriety and, ask how they correlate, with mental health challenges and substance misuse. So if you don't mind sharing your experience with that.
Yeah, I think I unfortunately found a way to cope with my anxiety, and it was obviously an unhealthy one. And at first it was drinking, and obviously at that point of time I was in college, so people I was surrounding myself with at that time were also drinking. And then one thing just kind of leads to the next thing, unfortunately. And I was really just looking for, at that point of time, a place where I can escape and feel like I'm in control. But what's so crazy is obviously by leaning on substances, you don't feel in control. But at that point of time, that's just how my headspace was. So I did, unfortunately, then turn to additional uses such as pills and things like that because I was trying to numb myself. And again, I think that came from the unfortunate situation of not paying attention or being more mindful of my heavy anxiety and the panic attacks that I was having. And that's kind of why I turned to substance. Now today I am able to drink with, socially, and I'm okay. But I did have to, again, get help of noticing, hey, this is why I was doing what I was doing. This is why this was unhealthy. This is something to do instead. But yeah, that was kind of it wasn't necessarily like a substance use disorder. It was more of I'm trying to cope and I have no idea where to turn.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately where I landed.
And that's what we have seen a lot, even in our interviews when it came to sobriety. I think, what month was that?
September,
yes. Everyone that we talk to, it's a co-occurring where usually people are struggling with mental health challenges and they're trying to find a way to cope. And I know one saying that I love is for the individuals without homes, sometimes it's easy to judge and say, well, if I give them money, they'll spend it on, alcohol or on drugs or something. And a perspective I was given was, well, when you look at it, when we're having a tough day, we'll come home and maybe you drink a glass of wine or something. Like for them,
it's the same thing.
Exactly. They're just having that tough day every day. So it's essentially the same thing, except you're just in different settings.
I have to be tangenty for a moment regarding that because if you're gonna give someone money, you don't get to say what they spend it on. Like that takes the whole good deed part out of it. You don't get to be picky with whatever they spend it on.
Yeah.
Well, that's why also
Which drives me
boundaries are
insane.
so important in situations like that. But yeah.
Like don't give if you
Yeah.
don't like where it's gonna go.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But anyways,
No, agreed.
I hate that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like, tough days are tough days, and then some people it takes longer.
An impact effect.
Yeah. And that's why we should never judge anyone what they're going through, because essentially you don't know the root cause. Like you can look at someone and say, oh, they're doing the XYZ because XYZ and they're a bad person. Not necessarily. Could be they're going through something and this is the way that they're finding comfort in dealing with whatever they're going through.
I think the drinking in college thing is also an important conversation because it's so normal for everyone to just be very drunk like 3 nights of the week. It's not normal.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's really not normal. Like if like post grads did that, it would be concerning, but they're in college, so it's fine. And I think a lot of them are masking a lot of mental health with that, but no one would ever know because it's college. We're just partying and drinking and having fun.
Yeah, that is
but I think
true.
it's way harsher than that. So I think that's why our mental health first aid is also very important. Another plug is we offer that for free when it's normally pretty expensive. It's essentially like CPR for your mental health. So it teaches you what to do in the event of like suicidal thoughts of a friend, but also substance misuse, and what to do in the event of like an overdose.
Wow. And you all, where is this like done? And
We'll come to you.
wow, that's
Virtual,
amazing.
in person. We've been going to a lot of colleges and doing adult mental health first aid, which is really good because that is going to help them identify the mental health in their friends, and maybe they can see that they're having like a drinking problem, that they're coping with their mental health with drinking or like other substances.
Yeah.
So I think that program is important.
And everything that we do, we tailor it. So if we were doing a presentation on something, we had an accounting firm we went to. We made the presentation specific to accounting. For example, we trained all of the Mill Creek Police Department on mental health first aid, and they're all certified, all of their staff.
It was a first responder of mental health first aid.
That's incredible.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's even tailored there, which is like, it's like a formal program, so we really can't touch it, but
We
they
tailor-
have
yeah.
they had a first responder one, which is cool.
Wow.
So we try to make it as focused as you'd like. So even if we went into schools and you wanted to talk about anxiety, we could talk about, school-specific anxiety and how, tests can cause, like things like that.
Right.
We can really make it specific to whatever organization is asking for us to do a presentation or mental health first aid for. Don't mean to plug a lot,
No, you
but
have
I
to.
think it's
Yeah.
just important
Never
to get
hurts.
out there for our listeners in case they're looking for those resources.
Yeah.
So yeah. So if someone wanted to get in contact with Charlie Health, where would they go? How could they get in contact? And what's the process look like for them?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. So for Charlie Health, we actually have a website that anyone can turn to. There's no need on like a doctor or professional referral for us. So by all means, you're welcome to turn to our website. That's just charliehealth.com. You're also welcome to reach out to me directly. Part of my job is literally speaking and connecting families, even if they're not looking for us or our type of care. I'll get them connected elsewhere too. It's just kind of like what you guys do at NAMI. I'm like a mini version, and I travel a lot. So, but yeah, so they can reach out to me. I think I can leave. Can we share my email somewhere? Or
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So like my email is just amanda.ross, that's ROSS, @charliehealth.com. You can shoot me an email. I'm happy to help you. But like I said, you can turn to our website as well. And something that is really unique about our specific care and treatment is that we don't have wait lists. We're really fortunate that since we are a very large-scale company in 38 states, that we're able to schedule intakes the same day of a referral, and typically the next day people get started with us. It's
awesome. I love that.
amazing and something that our co-founders are adamant on continuing. Charlie Health has been around since before COVID, so we were built to be virtual purposely for accessibility as well as speed, I would say, in terms of getting people into treatment when they need it.
I love that because with like brick and mortar places, that you can only have so many rooms, you only have
Right.
so many beds, you only have so many staff members. Virtually, you can reach literally everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. Yeah. And so when there's no cost associated, or do you guys accept insurance or?
So thanks for asking that. Totally forgot.
You're
so
okay.
our intake assessments, they're always free for anybody. So that's kind of a way of knowing like if it's the right fit or not. And currently in Pennsylvania, we're in with all major commercial insurances as well as TRICARE. We accept all different TRICARE plans and CHIP plans for the kids. So right now we're currently working to get back in network with Medicaid. We fell out after COVID, unfortunately, but we're working on getting back in with them. But for now, that's what we can do. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
If there's anything else you wanted to plug with Charlie Health,
Oh, yes, actually. Thank you. I feel like I need a question. Like I need someone to just, something awesome that we do too is we offer free support groups to anyone in the open community. So similar to how like NAMI does too, we offer our own support groups specifically for anyone who's been impacted by a loss of suicide. So that could be like potentially you've lost a friend or a family member, or you know someone that's going through that struggle. We offer that, again, free, open to anyone in the community, and it's virtual. And then we also offer support groups for providers, so therapists, social workers, anyone that has, you know, a place in terms of connecting people to care directly. We offer support for them. And then we also have support groups for parents and caretakers. And similar to how we branch and break down our specific group programming, we do that for this free group. So what I mean by that is you then would have a group, say you're a mom and your teen has come out to you that they are bisexual. So we have a specific group for LGBTQ parents. We have a specific group for Spanish-speaking families. We have a specific group for neurodivergent. So anything like that, we're offering that free as well.
I love that.
Love that.
And especially since you mentioned like the group for therapists or psychiatrists and things like that, I feel like we forget, you know, they're dealing with a lot as well. They hear a lot of different stories.
Yeah.
So just having kind of that place where they can talk about, I think that's so amazing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so glad you remembered to ask me that, because how could I have not spoken to the free support groups? Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I think, unless you have anything.
I don't. Is there anything else that maybe we have missed that you wanted to share, or?
No, just thank you for having me. It's been really great, and I love working with you guys. You're really just open, honest, and a safe place. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We look forward to talking to you, maybe having you again. We never know. So thank you so much. And that was Amanda Ross with Charlie Health. So thanks again.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Stigma Stompers Podcast. We truly appreciate all your support.
If you want to see more about what we do in our community, make sure you check out our website. It's namieri.org. Make sure you also click on our t-shirt store tab so you can buy a t-shirt. We get a portion of all the proceeds. And make sure you sign up for our newsletter. It has all of our programming and event updates.
Another way you can get involved is if you feel comfortable sharing your personal story. You can email us at info@namieri.org, or you can give us a call at 814-456-1773.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye.